You've just arrived, not by choice, not by mere happenstance, but as if drawn by some invisible thread that binds you to this place. The edge of a forest unlike any other, ancient, untouched by time, whispered about in the most hushed voices. Here lies the threshold to a medieval monastery forgotten by the world, a place where centuries of secrets sleep beneath crumbling stone and tangled ivy. Tonight, you are to stay here. Through this night, the shadows will stretch and shift with stories older than any living soul, and the silence itself will press against your skin, heavy and thick as fog. But before we step forward, a gentle reminder. Settle into your chair or your bed. Adjust your headphones if you wear them. Take a slow, deep breath and let your muscles relax. If you like this journey, this slow unraveling of a story that will crawl under your skin, then please hit like, subscribe, and share this with anyone brave enough to follow where few dare. Because what awaits is no ordinary night's rest. Look out now at the forest before you. The twilight has just passed. The day's last pale light fades beneath a slate-gray sky, leaving a deepening dusk that folds the land into shadows. The trees stand tall and twisted, their gnarled branches clawing the air like ancient, bony fingers. Some leaves cling stubbornly, though most have fallen, carpeting the ground in a brittle, whispering bed. A mist coils low between the trunks, slow and curling, as if breathing. It creeps forward like a living thing, pressing into your boots, seeping cold into your bones. The air here tastes faintly of moss and decay, old earth softened by centuries of rain. There's a chill, one that speaks not of the weather, but something older, something more unsettling. You notice how quiet it is. No birdsong greets your ears, no rustle of small animals scampering through underbrush. Even the wind seems hushed, holding its breath as if to listen. Every sound you make echoes strangely, swallowed and distorted by the heavy woods. Your footsteps crunch sharply on brittle leaves. Every crack feels louder, a spotlight on your intrusion into this forgotten place. You catch a glimpse of movement out of the corner of your eye, a shadow darting between the trees, gone before you can turn. The forest presses closer, narrowing the path. Twisted roots rise like serpents from the earth, threatening to trip the unwary. The scent deepens now, heavier with something like damp stone and old wood smoke. Remnants of a life once vibrant here, now long extinguished. And then there it is. Rising from the fog, the outline of the monastery looms, a silhouette of jagged stone against the pale moon. Its walls are scarred with cracks, thick ivy weaving through the ancient masonry like black veins. The tall bell tower leans slightly, as if burdened by years, its wooden beams groaning softly in the cold night air. A broken window yawns open like a toothless mouth, shards of colored glass sparkling faintly in the moonlight. As you step closer, the temperature drops and a shiver runs down your spine. The forest behind you seems to vanish into a thick curtain of mist, severing your path back. Somewhere deep within, the toll of a distant bell begins, slow and sonorous, vibrating through the stones beneath your feet. The first note hangs in the air, heavy and final. You feel eyes on you from the darkness beyond the monastery walls, from the blackwoods pressing close. The air grows thick with anticipation, as if the night itself waits for what you will do next. And so you reach out. Your hand brushes the cold iron handle, rough and pitted. The door creaks open, slow and protesting, revealing the darkness beyond. You step inside, Now, if you're ready to journey deeper, to listen with your eyes closed and your mind open, then settle in. Let this story carry you through the hours, a slow and creeping companion into the secrets of the haunted monastery from 1346. And remember, wherever you are watching from, thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of these deep dives into history and mystery. Tonight, the monastery waits. The ancient iron door slammed shut behind you, a cold clang that echoed down the long stone corridor, sealing out the faint whispers of the night beyond. Instantly, a heavy silence wrapped around you, thick and suffocating, as if the monastery itself exhaled a breath long held. Your footsteps echoed softly on the worn flagstones, the sound swallowed almost immediately by the vast emptiness. You paused for a moment, the chill in the air sinking into your bones. The dim light from your lantern danced against cracked walls, revealing peeling frescoes of saints and angels, figures frozen in eternal prayer, their faces faded by time and neglect. Yet something in their vacant eyes unsettled you, as if they were watching, silently judging your trespass into their forgotten world. The scent of damp stone and decayed wood mingled with a faint trace of old incense, barely clinging to the air. You breathed it in deeply, feeling the weight of centuries press upon your chest. Somewhere in the depths of the monastery, a distant drip of water echoed like a slow heartbeat, each drop a reminder of the slow decay surrounding you. You ventured further into the great hall, the vaulted ceiling soaring high above, lost in shadows. Stone columns, their surfaces rough and scarred, rose like silent sentinels lining the corridor. Broken stained glass windows caught the meager moonlight and scattered fragmented colors on the floor. A ghostly mosaic of red and blue and gold. There was an unsettling stillness here. No rustling of leaves, no creak of settling wood, only the faintest susurration, like a whisper carried on a forgotten breath. The deeper you walked, the colder it grew. Your breath came in shallow puffs, misting before your eyes. Your hand trailed along a wooden pew as you passed, its surface splintered and worn smooth by untold hands that had once sought solace here. You wondered what prayers had been uttered beneath these arches, what hopes and fears had been laid bare to a God long silent. Ahead, the shadowy outline of the chapel loomed, vast and empty. The altar was draped in tattered cloth, cobwebs clinging to broken candelabras. You stepped inside, the silence amplifying your heartbeat. Suddenly, a faint sigh seemed to drift through the air. A breath, a shiver, or merely your imagination. You dared not stay still for long. The staircase beckoned, a spiraling stone stairwell curling upwards into darkness. The steps creaked beneath your feet, complaining after years of neglect. As you climbed, the walls grew colder, the shadows deeper. Somewhere above, unseen, a faint tapping began, soft, deliberate, like fingernails tracing a secret message on ancient stone. At the top, narrow cells lined the corridor, their small windows barred and grim. You peered into one. A simple cot, a tattered blanket, and strange scratchings etched into the wood. Names, dates, symbols from another age. You shuddered. Suddenly, a gust of wind, or was it a breath, swept past, rattling the iron bars. Behind you, the door slammed shut with a force that made the stone tremble. Heart pounding, you turned, but the corridor lay empty, swallowed by darkness. The rhythmic tapping persisted, echoing softly, inviting, threatening. You felt eyes upon you, invisible but undeniable. Somewhere in the distance, a bell tolled, its sound warped and hollow, drifting through the monastery like a death knell. You pressed on, deeper into the bowels of the monastery. A narrow passage led to the crypt where the air was thick with the scent of earth and decay. Flickering torchlight revealed ancient coffins, their stone lids cracked and worn. Shadows seemed to flicker and shift beyond the flame's reach. Suddenly, a cold hand brushed your shoulder. You whirled, but no one was there. A whisper, barely audible, brushed your ear. A prayer? A warning? The hairs on your neck stood on end. Time lost meaning. Minutes stretched into hours as the night deepened. Every creak, every whisper, every shadow seemed amplified by the silence. You felt trapped in a world between worlds where the past bled into the present and unseen eyes watched with endless patience. As dawn approached, the monastery seemed to sigh, its grip loosening just enough to let you slip away. But the memory of the night would linger, an imprint on your soul, a shadow you could never fully shake. Because some places are not meant to be entered. Some nights are not meant to be survived. And this monastery, frozen in time since 1346, holds secrets darker than stone and shadow. The monastery's heavy silence deepened as midnight crept over the ancient stones. The moonlight had vanished behind thick clouds, plunging the corridors into near-total darkness. Your lantern flickered uncertainly, the flame sputtering as if battling the unseen cold that seeped through the thick walls. Every breath you took was shallow, your chest tightening with a mixture of fear and fascination. The silence was no longer just absence of sound. It felt like a presence, pressing against your senses, waiting, watching. As you moved cautiously down the shadowed hallway, faint whispers began to stir on the edges of your hearing. At first, you thought they were mere echoes of your own footsteps, but soon the whispers grew clearer, soft, breathy voices murmuring in a language long forgotten, weaving through the cold air like a ghostly thread. You paused, heart hammering, straining to catch a word, a clue. But the voices slipped away as quickly as they came, leaving behind only the oppressive stillness and the faint scent of old incense mixed with something fouler. A hint of rot, decay, and something unholy. You pressed forward, guided by a restless curiosity and an unease you could no longer ignore. The chapel doors ahead, once proud and carved with intricate crosses, now sagged on their hinges, revealing a darkened nave shrouded in shadow. The air here felt thicker, almost viscous, like stepping through a curtain between worlds. In the dim light, you saw flickers of movement, shapes that vanished when you blinked. Was it the play of shadows or something more? Your lantern's glow wavered and dimmed, as if the darkness itself resisted your intrusion. Suddenly, a chill swept through the chamber, extinguishing your lantern's flame. You were plunged into darkness so complete it swallowed your breath, your heartbeat, your very existence. Panic surged, but your hands moved automatically, striking a match that sputtered to life, casting weak light on the chapel's desolate altar. The altar was draped in a rotting cloth, embroidered with symbols that seemed to writhe and shift in the trembling flame. The ancient stone beneath bore scratches and stains, marks left by hands long gone, prayers whispered and broken. From the shadows, a soft footstep echoed. You spun around, the match sputtering out again. Cold fingers brushed your arm, leaving a trail of ice. The whispers returned, now urgent, pleading, or perhaps warning. You stumbled backward, heart racing, desperate to escape the chapel's grip. As you fled down the corridor, The walls seem to close in, the whispering voices chasing you, weaving around your mind like a sinister chant. A distant bell tolled, low and mournful, marking the passage of the witching hour. With every toll, the monastery seemed to pulse with a dark life, its ancient stones breathing and shifting in the gloom. Your only thought, survive until dawn. As the first whispers of dawn began to pale the sky outside, you found yourself drawn deeper into the monastery's dark heart. The cold corridors seemed to stretch endlessly before you, walls closing in like the embrace of some ancient, suffocating secret. Every step echoed faintly as if the stones themselves held their breath. In the farthest wing of the monastery, behind a heavy oak door bound with rusted iron, you discovered the forbidden chamber, a place shunned by the monks and whispered about in fearful tones by locals. The door groaned as you pushed it open, revealing a room unlike any other. The air here was thick with the scent of burnt herbs, old parchment, and something far darker. The chamber's walls were lined with shelves cluttered with dusty tomes bound in cracked leather, jars filled with strange powders and dried herbs, and faded scrolls adorned with symbols that twisted and coiled like living serpents. At the center stood a stone altar, scarred and stained with the remnants of rituals long abandoned. On the altar lay an ancient manuscript, its pages yellowed and brittle. The script was indecipherable, etched in a language lost to time, but the illustrations told a haunting story, a curse unleashed by a vengeful spirit trapped beneath the monastery, a curse that doomed anyone who dared spend the night within these walls. As you traced your fingers over the faded drawings, a sudden chill ran down your spine. The shadows in the corners of the chamber thickened, growing dense and alive. The whispers you had heard before swirled into a chorus, a chant of warning and despair, rising like a dark tide. You tried to flee, but the door slammed shut behind you with a force that shook the ancient stones. The chamber grew colder, the air heavy with the weight of the curse. Shapes moved in the darkness, twisted faces appearing and disappearing, their eyes filled with sorrow and rage. You realized then that the monastery was no mere ruin but a prison, a place where the restless dead were bound, and the living trespassed at their peril. The curse was not just a legend, but a living, breathing force that sought to trap all who dared to stay the night. With heart pounding, you searched for an escape, but the walls seemed to pulse and shift, the ancient spirits closing in. The only hope lay in unraveling the curse's origin. A story written in blood and shadow, whispered through centuries. As the dawn remained distant, you prepared to face the nightmare that had claimed countless souls before you, knowing that survival meant confronting the darkness itself. The forbidden chamber's grip still lingered in your mind as you stumbled back into the winding corridors of the monastery. Your breath came shallow and quick, your skin prickling with an otherworldly chill. The shadows no longer seemed content to stay confined to corners. They shifted, reached, and whispered with malevolent intent. Every footstep echoed like a death knell. Each breath stirred stale, cold air thick with the scent of earth and decay. The monastery's ancient stones seemed to pulse with a sinister life of their own, as if the very building breathed a dark secret. Driven by a mix of dread and determination, you ventured deeper, toward the crypt below, where the monastery's darkest secrets were said to lie entombed. The heavy wooden trapdoor creaked open with agonizing slowness, revealing a flight of steps swallowed by utter darkness. As your eyes adjusted, you saw the crypt's vaulted ceiling arching overhead, supported by weathered stone pillars draped in creeping ivy. The faint glow of phosphorescent fungi cast ghostly light on rows of ancient coffins, each carved with faded heraldry and inscriptions. The air was thick with the stench of mold and something far fouler, the lingering presence of the dead who had long since forgotten rest. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs to voices. Voices that seemed to call your name, urging you to turn back, but your curiosity chained you forward. A sudden coldness gripped your hand as something unseen brushed against you. You spun around, but nothing was there, only the echo of your own heartbeat pounding in the silence. In the far corner, a stone sarcophagus sat apart from the others, its lid cracked and broken. The floor beneath was stained with dark patches, and ancient symbols etched into the stone glowed faintly with a sickly green light. You stepped closer, heart pounding in your ears, when a guttural whisper slipped through the darkness, a warning, a curse, or perhaps a plea. The crypt's oppressive silence shattered as unseen forces stirred, the restless dead awakening from their eternal slumber. The night deepened, and so did the terror, as you realized the monastery's curse was not bound to the walls. It was alive, hungry, and waiting to claim its next victim. The crypt's suffocating darkness seemed to swallow every sound, every breath, every flicker of hope. As you stood frozen, still reeling from the phantom touch, the heavy silence was broken by the faintest of whispers, like the rustling of dead leaves or the soft sigh of forgotten souls. They came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The voices were unintelligible yet unbearably urgent, pressing against your mind like a relentless tide. Your heart pounded against your ribs as the shadows around you began to shift and writhe, distorting into vague humanoid shapes that flickered and vanished. The air grew colder, colder than anything you had ever felt. It was the cold of death itself, a bone-chilling emptiness that threatened to consume your very soul. You tried to call out, but your voice was swallowed by the darkness, lost in the infinite void. The ancient stones beneath your feet seemed to tremble, as though responding to an unseen force. You felt a presence, watching, waiting, ancient and malevolent. The monastery was alive in a way you had never imagined, its very essence a trap for unwary souls. With a sudden burst of courage, you reached for your light source, but the flames sputtered and died, plunging you into absolute blackness. Panic clawed at your mind as the whispers grew louder, more insistent, threatening to unravel your sanity. Desperation drove you forward, blindly groping along the crypt walls, desperate to find a way out. Your fingers brushed cold stone carvings depicting grim scenes of judgment, suffering, and torment, a silent warning from those who had come before. Time lost meaning in the darkness. Minutes or hours you could not tell. The unseen presence drew closer, its cold breath brushing your neck. You could feel it reaching for you, grasping at your very essence. Then, as suddenly as it began, the oppressive weight lifted. A faint glimmer of light appeared in the distance, beckoning you toward salvation or perhaps deeper damnation. Emerging from the oppressive crypt, you find yourself back in the monastery's ancient halls, but the sense of dread hasn't lifted. Instead, it clings to you like a second skin. Your light source, a lone candle, flickers weakly in the heavy air, a fragile beacon against the encroaching darkness. The flickering flame casts long, dancing shadows on the rough stone walls. The monastery's corridors seem to twist and warp, familiar passages now labyrinthine and alien. Every corner holds the possibility of unseen eyes, every doorway a portal to horrors beyond imagining. Your footsteps echo hollowly, mingling with distant, barely audible sounds. The scrape of claws, the soft murmur of whispers, the faintest hint of laughter that chills your blood. The building feels alive, pulsating with an ancient malevolence that defies reason. The candle's light wavers as a sudden gust of icy air sweeps through the hall, extinguishing the flame in an instant. Darkness floods the space once more, heavier and more suffocating than before. Panic threatens to rise, but you force yourself to breathe deeply to steady your nerves. You reach into your bag, fumbling for matches, but find only the cold, empty shell of your last one. Desperation surges. The darkness is closing in. Suddenly, a faint glow appears at the end of the corridor. A single candle flickers in a wall sconce, unmoving yet defying the pervasive shadows. Drawn to the light, you step cautiously forward, the floor uneven beneath your feet. As you approach, the candle's flame brightens, illuminating a faded tapestry hanging on the wall, its threads depicting a grim scene of monks engaged in a forbidden ritual. The tapestry's image seems to shift, figures moving subtly in the flickering light, their faces twisted in silent screams. The air thickens with the scent of incense and decay. The whispers return, urgent and insistent, swirling around you like a spectral wind. A sudden chill brushes your neck. You whirl around, but find nothing but empty corridor and dancing shadows. The candlelight flickers again, and for a fleeting moment, you see a pair of glowing eyes staring at you from the darkness beyond the tapestry. Frozen in place, you realize the monastery's darkest secrets are watching, waiting for the moment to claim you as one of their own. You press forward, heart hammering, following the faint trail of flickering candlelight deeper into the monastery's twisting corridors. The air grows heavier still, thick with the scent of dust, mold, and something darker. A faint metallic tang, like dried blood or rusted iron. The walls seem to close in as you approach an imposing wooden door, reinforced with ancient iron bands and carved with intricate symbols that you cannot decipher. This is no ordinary door. It feels alive, humming with a sinister energy that sends shivers down your spine. The heavy air carries whispers now more distinct, words in a forgotten tongue that prick at your mind like cold needles. You reach out, hand trembling, to grasp the iron handle, cold as the grave. With a creak that echoes like a scream, the door swings open to reveal a small chamber, dimly lit by an unseen source. The room is lined with stone shelves, upon which rest strange artifacts. Rusted chains, cracked bones, and tattered manuscripts bound in leather stained with age. At the center of the room stands a stone altar, worn smooth by centuries of use, stained dark in places that make your stomach turn. Surrounding the altar are faded frescoes depicting nightmarish scenes. Monks writhing in agony, shadowy figures looming over helpless supplicants, and cryptic symbols that seem to pulse with an unnatural glow. A sudden chill envelopes you, and the whispers crescendo into a guttural chant that reverberates through the chamber's walls. You realize you have stumbled upon the monastery's darkest secret, a place of forbidden rites and unspeakable horrors buried beneath the veneer of piety. As your eyes adjust, you notice a small, leather-bound book lying open on the altar. Its pages are filled with cryptic symbols and faded text written in a language lost to time. You feel compelled to read despite the growing sense of dread. The words seem to crawl across the page, twisting and shifting as if alive. Your mind reels as you glimpse fragments of an ancient invocation, a summoning, a binding, a curse that has lasted centuries. Suddenly, the chamber's temperature plummets further. The flickering light coalesces into a shadowy figure that rises from the altar, its form indistinct but unmistakably malevolent. You are frozen in place, caught between terror and fascination as the unseen presence reveals itself. The monastery's horrors are no longer whispers in the dark. They are real, and they want you to stay. The cold chill deepens as you remain rooted in the forbidden chamber, heart racing wildly, pulse echoing in your ears like a drumbeat in a vast, empty tomb. The sinister shadow that rose from the altar now seems to waver, as if sensing your presence, watching, waiting. The oppressive darkness feels alive, breathing around you, whispering secrets that your mind can barely grasp but cannot resist. Suddenly, faint chanting begins to seep through the cracked stone walls, a low, rhythmic murmur that grows steadily louder. The sound is not human but something far older, ancient voices intertwined in an otherworldly liturgy, a dirge for the damned. The flickering candlelight barely holds back the darkness as spectral shapes emerge from the shadows, wispy figures of monks bound in eternal torment. Their hollow eyes plead and curse, mouths opening in silent screams or chanting in languages long forgotten by the living. They move with a sorrowful grace, circling the altar in a macabre dance, weaving a tapestry of despair and damnation. You try to speak, but your voice is swallowed by the growing cacophony. Panic wells up, yet a morbid fascination compels you to watch the grim procession. Their spectral hands gesture toward the tome on the altar, urging you to read, to understand the dark covenant that shackles them still. Your eyes fall again on the cryptic book, and this time the words begin to form clearly. The invocation is a pact made centuries ago, a desperate plea for power that called forth something beyond the mortal realm. The monks' spirits remain trapped, bound to the monastery by their own hubris and the unspeakable horrors they summoned. The chanting rises to a fever pitch and the room seems to warp, walls pulsating as if alive. Shadows leap from frescoes, twisting into nightmarish creatures that reach out with clawed hands. Your heart pounds, but you cannot look away. In that moment, you realize the monastery is not merely haunted. It is a prison, a seal holding back an ancient evil waiting to break free. And now you are part of its story. As the spectral monk's chant fades into a haunting silence, an eerie stillness descends upon the chamber. Your breath hangs in the frigid air, and for a moment, the world feels suspended between life and death. Then, from deep within the monastery's ancient walls, comes the faint tolling of bells, slow, heavy, and unyielding. The sound is unnatural, each toll reverberating like a death knell, shaking the very stones beneath your feet. You know this is no ordinary bell. It is the monastery's silent call, a summons from the abyss that awakens the darkest of secrets. Driven by a mixture of dread and curiosity, you rise from the altar, your footsteps echoing hollowly as you venture deeper into the labyrinthine corridors. The walls close in around you, damp and covered in creeping moss, while distant whispers seem to call your name in the swirling shadows. The flicker of torchlight barely pushes back the gloom, and strange symbols, etched in blood-red pigment, appear on the walls, pulsing faintly as if alive. You feel eyes watching, unseen yet palpable, following your every step. Reaching the bell tower, you find the massive iron bell, cracked and stained with centuries of neglect. The clapper hangs motionless, yet the bell tolls on its own, each sound sending a wave of icy dread crashing through your spine. Suddenly, a cold wind rushes past, extinguishing your torch and plunging you into total darkness. In that pitch black, you hear a voice, whispered, chilling and ancient. proclaiming a curse upon those who dare disturb the monastery's slumber. Trapped in darkness, you realize that the monastery's silent bells are more than instruments. They are guardians of a curse older than time itself, and with every toll, the boundary between the living and the dead grows thinner. As the final toll of the silent bells fades into a heavy, suffocating stillness, a cold shiver runs down your spine. The ancient curse has been stirred awake, and the monastery itself seems to hold its breath in anticipation. You realize with a sinking heart that the night has only just begun. The shadows you've glimpsed are but the first whispers of the horrors yet to come. With trembling hands, you reignite your torch, its fragile flame a lone beacon in the overwhelming darkness. The silence around you thickens, pressing close like a living thing. You know that beyond these stone walls, something ancient and restless is awakening, drawn by the bell's mournful cry. As you step away from the bell tower, the heavy wooden doors slam shut behind you, sealing your fate. The monastery's dark corridors stretch endlessly ahead, winding deeper into forgotten crypts and cursed chapels where the boundary between this world and the next grows perilously thin. Your only choice is to press forward into the heart of the nightmare, where the true terrors of the haunted monastery await. Subscribe and stay with us as we descend further into the darkness in Act 2, The Cursed Crypts, Echoes of the Forgotten. The heavy oak doors behind you groan shut with an echoing finality, sealing off the outside world and the safety of daylight. The flickering torchlight dances against cold, damp stone walls, casting long, jittering shadows that seem to twist and pulse with unnatural life. A chill air, thick with the scent of mildew and decay, brushes your skin as you step carefully into the monastery's hidden crypts. A labyrinth of tunnels carved beneath centuries of worship and forgotten prayers. The narrow passage narrows as you descend deeper, the silence only broken by the distant drip of water and the faint scurry of unseen creatures. Every breath you take seems heavier, as if the air itself is laden with the weight of centuries-old sorrow. Your footsteps echo hollowly in the vast underground chamber you enter, walls adorned with cracked frescoes depicting saints and sinners alike, their faces worn almost beyond recognition. A sudden chill makes your skin crawl. From the corner of your eye, a fleeting shadow darts between ancient stone pillars. You stop, heart pounding, but the darkness offers no answers, only silence. Ahead, a flight of narrow steps spirals downward, the carved banister worn smooth by countless hands long turned to dust. The crypt's entrance looms, a heavy stone slab engraved with cryptic runes, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. The deeper you go, the more oppressive the atmosphere becomes. This is no ordinary resting place. It is a prison for something ancient and restless. Your journey into the heart of the cursed crypts has begun. As you step past the rune-inscribed slab, a sudden drop in temperature makes your breath fog in the stale air. The faint blue glow fades behind you, swallowed by creeping shadows. The stone walls close in tighter here, damp with centuries of unseen moisture, their surfaces slick with moss and ancient grime. A soft murmur drifts through the corridor, whispers almost too faint to catch, yet unmistakably human. They echo off the vaulted ceilings, overlapping in a chaotic chorus of half-remembered names and broken prayers. You strain to listen, but the words evade comprehension, like secrets locked just beyond your reach. The floor beneath your feet is uneven, strewn with broken bones and shattered pottery, remnants of forgotten rituals. Flickers of movement dance at the edges of your vision. Shadowy forms that vanish when you turn your head. Your torch sputters, casting erratic light that reveals a small alcove carved into the wall. Inside rests a crumbling stone coffin, its lid cracked and askew. Within, skeletal hands clutch a faded parchment stained with ancient ink. The writing is indecipherable, but the air around it hums with restless energy. Suddenly, a cold breath brushes your neck. You whirl around, but nothing is there. Only the echo of the whispers, growing louder, more urgent. The crypt seems alive, aware of your presence, watching, waiting. You realize this place is more than a burial site. It is a prison for forgotten souls, condemned to wander the darkness until their stories are told, or until you join them forever. The whispers fade abruptly as you press onward, replaced by a hollow silence so deep it seems to swallow your every breath. The passage twists sharply, forcing you into a narrow chamber where the air feels thick with a heavy, sorrowful weight. The walls here are lined with ancient niches, each housing a fragile, dust-laden skull staring sightlessly into the void. Time has weathered their features, but you sense their silent agony, as if these were not mere remains but prisoners of a long-forgotten torment. As you move through the chamber, faint echoes ripple through the stone. Distant cries, lamentations from lives long extinguished. A low hum begins to build, vibrating through the floor beneath your feet, stirring the dust into ghostly swirls. You reach an altar draped in tattered, moth-eaten cloth embroidered with faded symbols. Upon it rests a rusted iron key, its teeth worn but unmistakably crafted with purpose. The key seems to pulse with an unnatural energy, as if it holds the power to unlock something far darker than mere doors. Suddenly, the chamber's shadows gather and shift, coalescing into indistinct shapes that flicker like dying flames. A cold breath brushes past you, and a voice, hollow and distant, whispers your name. You are no longer alone. The echoes of the forgotten have awakened. With the rusted iron key heavy in your hand, you approach an ancient wooden door, its surface cracked and swollen from centuries of moisture. The iron bands reinforcing it are corroded, yet the massive lock remains intact, a guardian of secrets long buried. Your heart pounds as you insert the key, the metal scraping against the lock's innards. With a grinding sound, the mechanism reluctantly yields, and the door creaks open to reveal a narrow stairway spiraling downward into utter darkness. The air that escapes is stale and cold, carrying with it the faint scent of decay and forgotten memories. Every step you take echoes ominously, the sound swallowed by the thick stone walls. Faint blue flickers dance along the edges of the staircase, shadows twisting unnaturally as if alive. At the bottom, the stairway opens into a cavernous chamber. The walls are carved with ancient symbols, their meaning lost to time but pulsating with a sinister energy. In the center lies a stone altar stained dark with dried blood, surrounded by scattered bones and burnt remnants of old ritual candles. As you step closer, the atmosphere grows oppressive. Whispers return, now sharp and insistent, lashing at your mind with memories that are not your own. A sudden chill grips your spine, and you realize you have crossed the threshold into a place where the living dare not tread. This is the heart of the monastery's dark past, the secret no one was meant to uncover. As you stand before the blood-stained altar, the whispers swell into a deafening chorus, filling the chamber with anguished cries from the past. The flickering blue flames around you pulse erratically, casting grotesque shadows that writhe along the walls like living creatures. Suddenly, a cold darkness detaches itself from the shadows and slithers toward you. A formless, black mist with burning red eyes flickering within. It coils around your legs, climbing with a coldness that seeps deep into your bones. Panic grips your heart, but your body refuses to move. The shadow tightens its hold, whispering forbidden secrets of the monastery. Tales of betrayal, murder, and rituals so vile they threatened to tear the very fabric of the world. You realize this entity is no mere ghost, but the embodiment of the monastery's darkest sins. Trapped in eternal torment, desperate to ensnare a living soul to share its cursed fate. Your mind reels as the shadow's whispers begin to invade your thoughts. Will you fight this embrace or succumb to the darkness that has claimed so many before you? The shadow's grip tightens, but suddenly you hear a faint sound, a distant chime, like the tolling of a long-forgotten bell. The mist recoils momentarily, giving you a brief chance to break free. Scrambling through the chamber, you spot a narrow doorway partially concealed by ancient tapestries, its frame carved with sinister symbols that seem to writhe when observed from the corner of your eye. Gathering your courage, you push aside the heavy fabric and step into the hidden chamber beyond. The air is thick with the scent of old incense and rot. Candles, long extinguished, lie in melted pools on the floor, and at the center stands a cracked statue of a weeping angel, its stone tears mingling with dark stains that drip onto the floor. Engraved on the chamber's walls are warnings in a language long lost, a curse placed on those who dared to disturb the monastery's darkest secrets. The words seem to pulse, alive with malevolence, and as you read, a cold dread settles deep in your bones. You realize that the monastery was not just haunted by restless spirits, but by a curse so potent that it corrupts the very air itself, ensnaring all who enter in a web of eternal suffering. As you linger in the hidden chamber, the heavy silence is shattered by faint chanting, ancient prayers muttered in a language long dead. The voices seem to echo not from the walls, but from the very stones beneath your feet. Each word vibrates with a mournful energy, reverberating through your body like a ghostly tremor. You follow the sound deeper into the monastery's bowels, descending stone steps slick with moisture. The air grows colder, and the chanting grows louder, wrapping around you like a chilling embrace. Flickering torches line the passageway, but their flames bend unnaturally, casting dancing shadows that twist and coil like living things. Reaching a vaulted crypt, you find rows of empty niches carved into the walls, once the resting places of monks who vanished without a trace centuries ago. The chanting intensifies, and you realize these are the voices of the lost, trapped between worlds, forever repeating prayers that never reach the heavens. A sudden cold gust extinguishes the torches, plunging you into total darkness. In the pitch black, a whisper hisses directly into your ear, "You should not have come." In the chilling darkness, your senses sharpen. Suddenly, spectral figures emerge from the shadows. Monks clad in tattered, ancient robes, their faces hidden beneath worn hoods. They move silently in a slow, mournful procession, carrying flickering candles that emit an unnatural, cold light. Their eyes glow faintly with a sorrowful blue hue, and as they pass, the air thickens with the scent of old incense mixed with decay. The phantom monks seem trapped in an endless vigil, bound by a curse to roam the monastery forever, praying for redemption that will never come. You realize these spirits are neither hostile nor benevolent. They are remnants of the monastery's tragic past, forever caught between duty and despair. One monk stops, turning slowly to fix you with hollow eyes. A silent plea seems to pass between you, a desperate warning to flee before you too become part of their eternal watch. Beyond the phantom monk's vigil, you find a heavy iron door, its surface etched with grotesque carvings of twisted faces and serpents. The air grows thick with a palpable dread as you push it open, revealing a small chamber illuminated by the flicker of a single, swinging lantern. At the center stands an ancient reliquary, a chest encrusted with tarnished gold and jewels, rumored to hold a relic of unimaginable power. Local legends warn that the reliquary carries a curse. Anyone who dares to open it will unleash a darkness that consumes body and soul. Despite the warnings, curiosity pulls you closer. The lid creaks open slowly, revealing a bundle wrapped in decayed velvet. Suddenly, an icy gust blows out the lantern, plunging the room into darkness. A whisper like dry leaves rustling fills the air, promising torment and eternal imprisonment. You sense that whatever lies within the reliquary is the heart of the monastery's curse, and disturbing it may awaken a force far worse than restless spirits. The instant the reliquary's lid creaks fully open, a suffocating darkness floods the chamber, swallowing the faint lantern light. An oppressive silence is shattered by a low, guttural growl that vibrates through the very stones beneath your feet. Shadows twist and writhe like living tendrils, reaching out to grasp your trembling form. The air turns frigid, breath crystallizing in icy puffs. From the depths of the darkness, a pair of burning red eyes flare open, ancient, malevolent, and filled with endless hunger. You realize the curse was not just a warning, it was a prison, and now you have released the ancient evil that had been trapped for centuries. Desperately, you stumble back, heart pounding as the darkness surges forward, eager to consume. The monastery itself seems to groan in pain, walls cracking and mortar crumbling, as the unleashed horror begins its relentless hunt. There is no turning back now, only the desperate struggle to survive the night. Your hands tremble as you push open the heavy wooden door concealed behind a tapestry. The hinges creak a mournful groan that echoes through the vast, empty monastery halls. Beyond the doorway, a narrow, spiraling staircase carved directly into the ancient bedrock descends steeply into utter darkness. The air grows colder with each step, heavy and damp, carrying the unmistakable scent of mold, dust, and long-forgotten decay. Torchlight flickers weakly in your hand, casting trembling shadows that dance along the rough stone walls. The walls themselves tell a story, ancient etchings of religious symbols, saints, and cryptic warnings left behind by monks desperate to contain the evil lurking below. Faint scratches mar the surface, as though something clawed to escape, and the silence feels alive, waiting. You clutch the torch tighter, your breath visible in the cold air as you descend deeper into the bowels of the monastery. Each step feels like it carries you further from the world of light and safety and closer to a place where time has forgotten to flow. The narrow passage twists and turns, a labyrinthine maze carved into the rock beneath centuries of stone and earth. Finally, the stairs end in a vast cavernous chamber, a sepulchre of shadows and death. The floor is littered with brittle bones piled in ghastly heaps. Skulls with hollow eye sockets stare accusingly into the gloom, and shards of broken relics glisten faintly beneath layers of dust and cobwebs. The silence here is broken only by the soft scuttling of unseen creatures and the whisper of stale air. From the darkest corners of the chamber, faint voices seem to murmur, a susurrus of prayers, curses, and lamentations that chill you to the bone. The boundary between life and death blurs, as restless spirits of those long entombed stir in the shadows. You realize with horror that the trials are far from over. This is the domain where the monastery's darkest secrets fester, where evil has been chained for centuries. But now, with your arrival, the chains are weakening. A cold draft snakes through the chamber, snuffing out your torch's flame. In the instant darkness, your skin crawls with the terrifying certainty that something watches you, waiting for the moment to strike. Your only hope is to push forward, to unravel the ancient mysteries that bind this place before dawn breaks, or become another forgotten soul lost to the catacombs forever. The cold air seems to press against your lungs as you step deeper into the cavernous catacomb chamber. Your fingers clutch the torch, its feeble light barely keeping the encroaching shadows at bay. The piles of brittle bones crunch softly beneath your boots, a grim reminder of those who ventured here before and never returned. Every instinct screams at you to turn back, but curiosity and dread propel you forward. The chamber widens into an intricate maze of tunnels, twisting passages lined with niches filled with ancient skulls and skeletal hands reaching out as if begging for release. Faint echoes ripple through the stone corridors, soft, unintelligible whispers carried on a cold, stagnant breeze. You strain your ears. The voices are there. Words? Names? You cannot tell. A sudden chill crawls up your spine as the whispers grow louder, more urgent, laced with sorrow and warning. It feels as though unseen eyes pierce through the gloom, watching every step, every breath. The religious symbols on the walls become more disturbing, grotesque depictions of demons and tormented souls, twisted in eternal agony. Their presence feels less like protection and more like a barrier, meant to trap whatever lies beyond. You pass an old wooden altar, its surface marred by scratches and stains dark as fresh blood. A half-burned candle flickers weakly beside a cracked chalice. Suddenly, a faint movement catches your eye. From the edge of your vision, a shadow flits between the crumbling columns. You whirl around, torch raised high, but see only the swirling darkness. Your heartbeat thunders louder than the distant dripping of water. A low moan reverberates through the tunnels, echoing off the stone in a haunting cadence. It draws you forward, deeper into the labyrinth's heart, where the air thickens with the oppressive weight of centuries-old secrets. Your steps slow, senses heightened. Every creak, every breath of wind, every whisper seems to come alive. You reach a heavy iron door, rusted and scarred by time. Symbols carved into its surface pulse faintly with a sickly green light. The whispers crescendo into a chorus of voices, some pleading, others growling with malice. Your hand trembles as you grasp the cold iron handle. Beyond this door lies the truth and the final reckoning. Your fingers curl tightly around the cold, rusted handle, knuckles white with tension. The whispers swell into a cacophony, voices rising and falling, some desperate, some angry, as if the very air around you breathes with unseen torment. With a creak that echoes like a scream through the tunnels, The iron door groans open. Beyond it lies a narrow passage lit by flickering sconces, their flames struggling against a darkness so thick it seems to swallow the light whole. You step inside cautiously, the air growing colder with every pace. The walls here are slick with moisture and stained with something dark. Not just dirt or mold, but something older, deeper. As your torch flickers, you glimpse crude drawings etched into the stone. Figures writhing in agony, demonic faces leering in silent curses. The passage bends sharply, and as you round the corner, you come face to face with a massive chamber. At its center stands a stone altar, covered in faded symbols and surrounded by a ring of withered candles, some still burning with an unnatural blue flame. The whispers cease, replaced by a heavy silence so profound it presses against your very soul. Suddenly, a cold gust slams the door shut behind you, plunging you into near darkness. Your torch sputters violently, struggling to stay lit. From the shadows ahead, a figure emerges, shrouded in tattered robes, face hidden beneath a hood. A spectral glow radiates faintly from its form, eyes burning with an otherworldly light. The figure raises a hand, and the blue flames flare higher, casting eerie dancing shadows across the chamber. You realize with a bone-chilling certainty that you have disturbed something ancient, something that was meant to stay buried. The figure speaks in a voice both distant and piercing, reciting a litany in a language lost to time, a curse meant to bind and to condemn. Your heart pounds, the air thickens, the room seems to close in. You are trapped in a nightmare woven from centuries of fear and dark ritual. As the hooded figure's incantation fills the chamber, an unearthly chill snakes through the air, winding tightly around your heart. The words, guttural and ancient, seem to claw at the very fabric of reality, summoning powers beyond mortal understanding. The blue flames flare wildly, casting frantic, jerking shadows that dance across the walls like restless spirits. The air vibrates with a low hum, the vibration of a curse long dormant, now coming alive with terrible intent. Your breath quickens, frost forming on your skin despite the thick, enclosed stone. The altar beneath the spectral figure begins to glow faintly, pulsing with a sickly green light that seeps into the cracks of the ancient stone floor. From the shadows, whispers erupt into agonized screams, the souls of countless lost monks, victims of this very place, their spirits bound in eternal torment by the curse. Suddenly, the chamber trembles. Dust and debris cascade from the ceiling. The stone walls seem to close in, narrowing the space as if the monastery itself is alive, hungry for your fear. You try to move, but an invisible force pins you in place. The spectral figure turns slowly, eyes burning with cold fury, and points a bony finger at you. You have awakened what should have remained silent. The voice hisses, "And now you shall suffer the fate of the forsaken." The shadows pulse and writhe, taking on ghastly forms, twisted shapes of monks long dead, their faces twisted in silent screams, reaching out with skeletal hands. The cursed spirits surge forward, their moans filling your ears as they close in. You realize escape is no longer a choice, only survival. The ghostly monks close in, their cold, skeletal fingers brushing against your skin, sending icy shockwaves through your body. Panic surges like wildfire, igniting a desperate will to survive. You break free of the unseen force that held you, stumbling backward into the twisting corridors of the monastery. The walls around you pulse with darkness, the cold seeping deeper with every hurried step. The echo of the wailing spirits chases you relentlessly, a grim chorus of anguish and rage. Every turn you take feels like the same hall, the architecture warping as if the building itself is alive and intent on trapping you within its labyrinthine maze. The flickering torches cast grotesque shadows, and somewhere distant, a heavy wooden door slams shut with a thunderous boom, sealing off your escape. Breath ragged, heart pounding, you glance behind you to see the spectral monks relentlessly pursuing, their hollow eyes burning with malevolence. Desperation claws at your mind as you reach a narrow stairwell spiraling upward. Your only hope. The air grows thicker, harder to breathe, as the spirit's cries crescendo behind you. You begin to climb, each step creaking ominously, the chill biting deeper, as if the cold itself is trying to drag you back into the darkness below. Above, a faint glimmer of moonlight filters through narrow windows, promising escape, but the stairwell seems endless, stretching on beyond reason. The monastery's walls close and tighter, the air thick with menace, and you realize this night may be the last chapter of your story. After what feels like an eternity spiraling upward, you burst into a vast chamber unlike any before, the heart of the monastery's ancient darkness. The room stretches wide and high, dominated by a colossal stone sarcophagus etched with cryptic runes glowing faintly in the gloom. The air here is thick, heavy with the weight of centuries, and the cold is sharper, more biting, as if the very breath of death hangs in the shadows. Faint whispers echo, more urgent now, like the last desperate prayers of souls long lost. Your skin crawls as you approach the sarcophagus, every instinct screaming that something inside waits, watching, hungry. The runes pulse with unnatural light, illuminating faded frescoes on the walls, scenes of monks performing a forbidden ritual, sacrificing their own to imprison an ancient evil beneath the monastery. Your fingers brush the sarcophagus lid, and an icy jolt surges through your body. A voice, neither wholly human nor entirely spectral, murmurs from the shadows. Why do you disturb the resting place of the forgotten? Your heart pounds, but you know you must answer. The fate of your soul and the monastery hang in the balance. Your touch on the sarcophagus lid triggers a low rumble that shakes the very stones beneath your feet. The runes blaze with searing light, illuminating the chamber in a ghastly glow. The air grows thick, charged with ancient power. The lid begins to slide open, revealing a darkness so profound it seems to swallow the light whole. From within the depths, a chilling presence stirs, an evil entity long imprisoned, its eyes burning with fury and ancient malevolence. A terrible silence falls before a guttural growl echoes through the chamber, reverberating in your bones. The spirit monks, once haunting shadows, now manifest fully, twisted and tormented, their faces masks of eternal torment. You stand frozen, heart pounding in your chest, as the very ground seems to pulse beneath your feet. The air crackles with raw energy as the ancient evil begins to break free from its centuries-old prison. Your only chance lies in confronting this darkness, to face the unimaginable and survive the horrors of this haunted monastery. The ancient evil looms before you, a shifting mass of darkness and fury, radiating malice that chills your very soul. The spectral monks wail in unison, their cries twisting through the air like a chorus of the damned. Your mind races. Every fiber of your being screams to flee, but you stand firm, knowing escape means succumbing to this eternal nightmare. A sudden surge of energy pulses through the chamber as the entity lashes out with tendrils of shadow, aiming to envelop and erase your presence from this world. You dodge, heart hammering, searching desperately for anything, any relic, any sign that might banish this horror back into the abyss. Your eyes catch sight of an ancient symbol carved into the chamber wall. A faint glow radiates from it, a silent promise of hope. Summoning every ounce of courage, you reach toward the symbol, chanting prayers long forgotten, invoking the power of light to fight back the creeping darkness. The chamber trembles violently as light clashes with shadow, a battle of wills that transcends time itself. Will you banish the evil and survive the night? Or will the haunted monastery claim yet another soul in its endless nightmare? As your voice echoes through the chamber, the ancient symbol's glow intensifies, casting a brilliant light that pushes back the darkness inch by inch. The shadowy entity recoils, shrieking with fury and despair, the ghostly monk's wails fading into mournful silence. The oppressive cold begins to lift, replaced by a faint warmth, as if the very soul of the monastery breathes a long-awaited sigh of relief. You feel the weight of centuries begin to lift, the chains of the past weakening as the light burns brighter. The ancient evil, once thought eternal, starts to dissolve, its form unraveling like mist at dawn. But the battle has left its scars. The chamber trembles, dust and debris falling as the monastery groans in its ancient bones. With one final flash, the light floods the chamber, and the sarcophagus seals itself once more. This time, not as a prison, but as a tomb for the horrors that plagued this place. You stand alone, breath ragged but victorious, the first rays of dawn piercing through the high stained glass windows. A silent promise that the nightmare has ended